Hello and welcome to Duels of the Spellslingers. My name is Nemesis. I will be bringing you commentary today for Tieryn versus Francis, round number 3 of tournament number 5 of Duels of the Spellslingers. This tournament is an open tournament, meaning that players can bring any number of planeswalkers that they choose to the table. It's a best out of 3, so the first player to win 2 games. And we are in round number 3. So we started with 22 players in round number 1, pared that down in round number 2, and round number 3 is the top 8 players involved. So the top 8 will play, round number 4 will be the top 4, and then round number 5 will be our absolute finals. But we're in the final stage of tournament number 5 here. And so today we're going to be seeing Tieryn versus Francis, and we're going to be seeing the winner move on to play the winner of the last match that came up on YouTube between Ace and Cat Rapier. Ace winning that one. So the winner of this will move on to face Ace in the semifinals before the finals here. But round number 3, here we go. We have, again, Tieryn and Francis bringing you any deck that they choose. Francis being in one of the top players in the Mythic category right now. And he is bringing us a Nisa deck. And Tieryn bringing us a Jace deck. So see what we can get with the blue versus the green here. Nisa, of course, wanting to build up some mana. And then Tieryn with the Jace deck wanting to control play, send creatures back into hand, that sort of thing. Francis starting us off with a Channeler of Might. It becomes a 3/3, the epitome of might in hand, of course, being a 10/10. So that boosts it by +1/+1. Tieryn decides to pass with 2 mana, not to play anything. Francis attacks for 3 to the face, and then plays a 4/3 creature. So Francis holding a little bit of board control. Of course, Tieryn at this point in the game not really minding with an unsummon in hand, a Mistraven, a Repulse, and I think Tieryn going to respond with a Jace's Apprentice. So that comes out, and it comes out as a 3/1, but gets boosted by each card in hand. So that becomes a 3/6. So Tieryn now has an answer to either of the attackers that Francis has on the board. Turn passes back over to Francis with 3 mana available. Francis decides to neither attack nor play anything, and simply passes the turn right back over to Tieryn. Tieryn with 3 mana available with that Jace deck. Trying to get at least the names of my planeswalkers right this commentary around. The last commentary I did, I mistook Kaya and Kiora. Of course, names sound similar, and my brain just, every time I said Kaya or went to say Kaya, I said Kiora. So I'm hoping that I at least get the names of the planeswalkers this time around correct. So far, I think I have with Jace and Nisa, but you know, we can all make mistakes like that. It felt silly when I tried to re-record it. Thank you, antlr, for trying to help me fix it. But yeah, it definitely sounded echoey when we replaced it. So hopefully I won't have any glaring errors in my wording this time around, at least not repeatedly. So Tieryn attacks, Francis lets him through with that 3/6. And then we're going to see Tieryn and activate the Repulse and send that 4/3 back into hand. So that Galonian Tusker goes back into Francis's hand, and then Tieryn gets to draw a card. Francis with 4 mana available, and we're going to see Francis wanting to build up that mana, so get that ramp going. So we see the Sylvan Shrine come out, and then deciding not to attack, knowing that Tieryn has the 3/6 blocker available there. Tieryn turn shifts back over to them with 4 mana available. We're going to see the Mage of Insight come out, allowing a card draw, and a Panharmonicon comes out. We'll see that later on, and then Francis decides to attack with that 3/3. Blocks with the 3/3 when Tieryn attacks. And then Francis going to throw out the Force of the Wild, which is an interesting card. It drains some mana from your hand, so at the start of each turn, you have 2 less mana available. but it is an 8/6 with trample and with reach, so pretty big creature there. And then Francis also brings out another Channeler of Might, and that does become a 3/3. And then Francis, it looks like, debating if he's going to activate that Sylvan Shrine again, and decides not to. So we're going to leave that 1 mana boost available in hand. But starting next turn, Francis will have either 4 or 5 mana available instead of the full 6 or 7 that they would have, depending on if a land activates here. Goes back up to Tieryn, who plays a Jorgen Druid. So that's going to pump up that Panharmonica. Comes out with 3 charges on it. Of course, no point in using the Pan on that Druid again because there's no other artifacts in hand. And then Tieryn looks like was going to attack with both creatures there, but I think they've drawn back and decided not to attack. So turn shifts back over to Francis. Francis attacking with that 8/6, but again drains 2 mana. So Francis sitting at 5 mana out of the potential 7 available. And with 5 mana, we're going to see another Force of the Wild come into play. So that's going to further challenge Francis each next turn, because if the next turn starts, Francis is only going to have 3 mana available. So interesting play with those Force of the Wild, but of course the 8/6 trample, pretty hard to overcome. That is depending on what kind of answers you have. And so shifting back over to Tieryn with 5 mana available, I think we saw Tieryn grab the Mist Raven. I'm not entirely sure. So Tieryn, yeah, looks like playing the Mist Raven, and then we're going to see that get panned. So going to send both of those Force of the Wild back into Francis's hand, and then attacking for 9 potential damage. Francis going to block one of those, and Francis still going to get through with 6. Or sorry, Tieryn's still going to get through with 6 damage to Francis's face there. So Francis playing the Nissa deck, sitting with 16 life available. And there we see the value of keeping that Sylvan Shrine artifact available to play the Jorgen Druid and then to get the card draw. So Francis sitting with 5 more mana available, going to play the Tusker, and then that Baloth, the 4/4 with trample. So we'll see if he gets to trample over with that. Tieryn with 6 mana available, and another Mist Raven in hand. I'm not sure if we'll see the exact same play that Tieryn just did, and it looks like we are going to see that. So I imagine, yeah, here comes a Mist Raven, and he's going to use the Panharmonicon on it again to throw back 2 creatures into Francis's hand, and then attacking with 9 potential damage. Francis, again, I'm going to block 3 of those, but still take 6 to the face. So Francis sitting with 12 life, Tieryn with 15 at this point in the game. Tieryn looking for some sort of answer to those flyers. So probably we're going to see another one of those Force of the Wilds come out, but I'm not sure. And so we see another Druid, and then a mana boost for another card draw. And then with 5 mana available, I'm sure we're going to see another Force of the Wild, just as they have reach and can block at least one of those 3/3 flyers that are coming in overhead from Tieryn there, those Mist Ravens. Turn flips back over to Tieryn with 7 mana available. Tieryn with a few other potential answers, and so I think we're going to see a repulse here. Going to throw that Force of the Wild back into Francis's hand, and then draw a card. Draws a Stern Artificer, which Tieryn's going to play right away, and then boost that Panharmonicon 1 more, and then activates the Remand. So the next creature that Francis plays that is 3 or more in cost will get sent back to hand, and then Tieryn swings overhead for 6 damage. Back over to Francis here, who plays the Spiked Baloth, and that gets remanded, so sent back to the hand. The benefit for Francis, of course, is that only costs 3 mana instead of having played a more expensive creature first off, and then decides to swing through with the attack with that Jorgen Druid. Of course, it can't be killed by any of the creatures on the board. Tieryn does decide to block it with a a 3-cost creature, so that one dies. The Jorgen Druid stays alive. And then Francis is going to play that Spike Ballast again, and another Force of the Wild comes into play. So again, looking for an answer to one of those flyers. Tieryn's still sitting with those 2 3/3 flyers that can swing overhead here. Tieryn using Jace's special ability, allowing a card to be drawn, and any card drawn costs only 1 from now on. So yeah, great to get that ability out. And of course that ability, special ability for Jace, goes down in cost each time Jace is able to draw a card. And then Tieryn swinging overhead with those 6 damage, and able to throw that Force of the Wild back into Francis's hand once again. So still no answer to those flyers. Francis sitting with 2 life available, so he's going to need to come up with an answer this turn for both of those overhead flyers if Francis wants to survive another turn. Or some mana draw could also be an answer, because every time Nissa gets an empty or a full mana gem, any mana gem creates +2 life. So a plot could be an option. Of course, at this point in the game, a plot's only going to give 4 extra life, and Francis attacking overhead with 6, which would bring it down to exactly 0. So I don't think plot is the right play here at this point in the game for Francis. Francis attacking with both creatures, it looks like, knowing that if either of them gets blocked, it's going to take one of Tieryn's creatures away. So yeah, I think we're going to see Francis declare attackers here, and then debating what to do with that 13 available mana. Epitome of Might would be another potential card to play, but of course, knowing that Tieryn has the Remand activated, we know how that would turn out. So Tieryn gonna let the 7 damage through to the face. Tieryn's still sitting with 8 life, and then the Remand puts the Force of the Wild back into Francis's hand. We're gonna see Francis play that again, but then with no answer to that second flyer, we're going to see Francis concede game number 1. So game number 1 in this best of 3 series in round number 3, tournament number 5, goes to Tieryn with the Jace deck. Again, this tournament number 5 is a completely open tournament. There's no restrictions on the Planeswalker that you can bring in, no restrictions on the types of cards you can play. And so in game number 2 here, we're going to see Tieryn changing it up. Tieryn coming in with a Domri deck, and then Francis is going to stick with that Nissa deck that has been treating him well. And we see 2 more Force of the Wilds come in Francis's hand. Of course, trying to discard 2 cards, and those were just the luck of the draw cards. But yeah, Francis with a lot of the Force of the Wild in this game, as we've seen both of those in his hand both games here. So interesting start. Francis with 2 mana available, gonna play the 4/3 creature. So that Tusker comes out, and then we see Tieryn play the Birds of Paradise, and Tieryn the round before had played the 1/2 with double strike, so it does double damage. Not quite the same as in traditional Magic the Gathering cards, because it's not quite the same as First Strike, but yeah, still does double damage there. We see Francis play the 2/2, and then Tieryn gonna answer with the duel card, so forces his opponent to challenge him. That becomes a 2/3, so it survives, and then the 2/3 attacks and deals 4 damage, because of course it does the double damage, and so clears out Francis's side of the board. And then Tieryn, knowing that he's just had 2 creatures died, brings out that Termagoth. So that comes in as a 4/5. Sorry, I can't remember how to pronounce that. Termaglyph, maybe? Or Termogryph. So that gets pumped up by the Warhorn, comes in for 6 damage to the face of Francis here. So Francis looking for an answer, and there's his answer. The Force of the Wild comes in as an 8/6 with Trample. So, yeah, Tieryn, boosting that, and then brings in the Slayclaw, which comes in as a 10/10 because it gets 2 higher than the highest power creature in play. So a 10/10, and an 8-5 come in, and then Tieryn throws in a Birds of Paradise just for good measure. Francis deciding not to attack, knowing that either of those better 2 creatures could take out his 8-6 there, and of course that the claw creature can take it out entirely and stay alive, and then we're going to see Tieryn do damage to it. So takes out the 8-6. Next turn in, Francis playing another Force of the Wild, and then still has that Mama Mammoth in play. And then Tieryn with, I think the Lava Wave is the only card available. No, a Giant Growth as well, but we're going to see the Lava Wave played. And then Tieryn's going to attack with all creatures, and then the Giant Growth is going to boost that, so it's not going to die. It stays as an 11-1, and then dealing 14 damage to the face of Francis. Francis still alive with 6 health left, but yeah, not sitting too great. Francis going to do the Lava Wave back to Tieryn, but of course that 10-10 survives and becomes a 10-4. And 10 is more than enough damage to bring Francis down to -4. So we see Tieryn take game number 2 with a totally different approach, bringing out the Domri deck, playing a lot of creatures, trying to get, a fast response. And sure enough, we see Tieryn moving on to round number 4 here. And as we discussed earlier, Tieryn will be facing off against Ace. I hope you've enjoyed the commentary, hope you've enjoyed the video. Thank you for joining me. Again, a huge thank you and a shout out to the people putting this tournament together, mainly Obus Forum and antlr, for all the hard work you guys are doing. This has been Nemesis bringing you some commentary. Have a great night. Bye.